Once upon a time there was a pit bull named Rocky. He had been abandoned on the streets of a busy city. His once shiny coat had become dull and matted from months of wandering in search of food, water, and shelter. His ribs were visible under the thin skin, and his eyes held a sadness that no dog should ever have to experience. Yet, despite everything that had happened to him, there was still a spark of hope in Rocky's heart, even though it had been dimmed by the harshness of his circumstances. Rocky had spent countless days dodging cars, trying to avoid the cruelty of some humans who looked at him with disdain, and attempting to find shelter in alleyways and under abandoned buildings. He had seen the worst side of people, but he had also seen glimmers of kindness from strangers who would throw him scraps of food or give him a pat on the head, just enough to remind him that there were still good people out there. It wasn't until one cold winter morning when a heavy rainstorm swept through the city that Rocky's life would change forever. He was hiding under a broken-down van, his small body trembling from the cold, when he heard footsteps approaching. He braced himself for yet another encounter with a cruel passerby, but when he looked up, he saw a woman with kind eyes. She kneeled down slowly and held out her hand to him, calling his name softly. "Come here, boy. It's okay. You're safe now." Rocky, wary but tired, didn't know what to make of this stranger. He had learned to be cautious, to expect the worst from people. But something about the woman's voice made him take a tentative step toward her. He sniffed the air and then, as if making a decision, slowly approached her outstretched hand. She smiled gently and stroked his damp fur. From that moment on, everything changed for Rocky. The woman's name was Sarah, and she had seen Rocky a few times over the past few weeks, always looking out for him from a distance. She worked at a local animal shelter and had heard whispers about a stray pit bull who had been roaming the area. When she saw him that morning, she knew she couldn't let him suffer any longer. She had to help him. Sarah carefully took Rocky in her arms, wrapping him in a warm blanket that she kept in her car for moments like this. She could feel his heartbeat racing, but there was also an unmistakable trust in his eyes. He was scared, but he was ready to believe in people again. At the shelter, Rocky received the care he had long been denied. The veterinarian checked him over, diagnosing him with a few minor health issues that were quickly addressed. They gave him food, clean water, and a warm bed to sleep in. For the first time in what felt like forever, Rocky could rest peacefully. But Sarah wasn't done yet. She knew that what Rocky needed wasn't just food and shelter. He needed love. And that was something she had plenty of to give. Sarah spent hours sitting with Rocky, letting him get used to the new environment. She spoke to him softly, telling him that he was safe now and that he would never be alone again. With every passing day, Rocky began to trust her more and more. Weeks passed and Sarah could see the transformation in him. His coat grew shinier and fuller. His eyes, once filled with sadness, now sparkled with curiosity and joy. He had begun to trust people again, something he thought was impossible. But despite all the progress, Sarah knew that Rocky still had one thing missing in his life: a family. Sarah had worked with many dogs in the past, but something about Rocky had touched her heart in a way that was different from the others. She knew that she couldn't keep him at the shelter forever, and although she had grown deeply attached to him, she also knew that he deserved to find the perfect home, one that would love him just as much as she did. One day, Sarah posted Rocky's story online, along with pictures of him playing with a ball in the yard and wagging his tail happily. She wrote about how he had been abandoned, how he had survived on the streets, and how he had blossomed into the loving, playful dog he was today. She hoped that someone, somewhere, would see him and know that they were meant to be his forever family. It wasn't long before she got a message from a family that seemed to be a perfect fit. They had a young daughter named Emma who had been asking for a dog for months. The family had recently moved to a house with a big backyard and were looking to adopt a dog who could be a companion for Emma. Sarah arranged a meeting between the family and Rocky. She was nervous, but she also knew that this could be the moment he had been waiting for. When the family arrived, Emma's eyes lit up when she saw Rocky for the first time. She knelt down and called him, and Rocky, sensing her warmth and kindness, immediately ran over to her. He licked her face, wagging his tail excitedly. The family spent time with Rocky, and it quickly became clear that he had found the perfect family. Sarah watched as the bond between Emma and Rocky grew stronger with each passing moment. It was as if they had known each other for a lifetime. They laughed as Rocky playfully tugged on Emma's jacket sleeve and chased after a stick she threw for him. The family knew right then and there that Rocky was meant to be a part of their lives. They completed the adoption process, and within days, Rocky was settling into his new home. He had his own bed by the fireplace, a bowl of food that was always full, and a backyard where he could run and play to his heart's content. Most importantly, he had Emma, who quickly became his best friend. But that's not the end of the story. In the months that followed, Rocky's transformation continued. Not just physically but emotionally. He became more confident, more joyful, and more loving than Sarah had ever imagined. He adored Emma and followed her everywhere, always by her side, whether she was playing in the yard, reading a book, or simply sitting on the couch. Then, something amazing happened. Emma's parents began to notice a change in their daughter as well. She had always been a kind and caring girl, but with Rocky by her side, she became even more compassionate. She started volunteering at the local animal shelter with her parents, helping other abandoned dogs find their forever homes. She would bring Rocky along, showing him off to other families who were considering adoption, hoping to inspire them the way he had inspired her. Rocky's story had come full circle. Not only had he found a family, but he had also become a part of something bigger than himself. He was a symbol of hope, showing that even the most broken animals could heal and thrive with love, patience, and care. And as for Sarah, she watched with pride as Rocky's new life unfolded, knowing that she had played a small part in something truly extraordinary. As the years passed, Rocky's bond with Emma only grew stronger. They became inseparable. Together, they shared countless adventures, from hiking in the mountains to snuggling on the couch during cold winter nights. Rocky was no longer the abandoned, sad dog he once was. He was a beloved member of the family, living the life he always deserved. And so, Rocky's story became one of triumph, proving that even in the darkest of times, there is always hope. With love, care, and a little bit of time, anything is possible. Rocky had found his forever home, and in doing so he had given Emma, and everyone who crossed his path, something amazing: the belief that love truly changes everything. The city hummed with a restless energy, a symphony of car horns, chattering voices, and the distant wail of sirens. Amidst this urban cacophony, a lone figure shuffled through the shadows, a creature of worn fur and weary eyes. He was a pit bull, his muscular frame now gaunt, his once bright coat dulled by neglect. His name was Chance, though he hadn't heard it spoken in what felt like a lifetime. He remembered a time when that name was accompanied by warm hands, playful tugs on a favorite rope toy, and the comforting scent of home. But those memories were fading, replaced by the harsh reality of life on the streets. Chance had been abandoned, cast aside like a broken toy. He didn't understand why. He had always been loyal, always eager to please. He had loved his family with every fiber of his being. But one day the familiar car ride ended in an unfamiliar place, a deserted alleyway. The doors slammed shut, and the car sped away, leaving him alone in the cold, echoing silence. The first few days were a blur of confusion and fear. Chance wandered aimlessly, his tail tucked low, his ears drooping. He searched for familiar scents, for the sound of his owner's voice. He slept under bushes, shivering from the cold, his stomach gnawing with hunger. He was met with suspicion and fear by most people he encountered. Some shooed him away with harsh words and kicks. Others crossed the street to avoid him, their eyes filled with apprehension. He was a pit bull, after all, and the world had taught him that meant he was something to be feared. But Chance wasn't a monster. He was a gentle soul trapped in a body that society had labeled dangerous. He longed for connection, for a kind touch, for a warm place to rest his head. He still remembered the joy of playing fetch, the comfort of a belly rub, the unconditional love he had once known. Those memories kept him going, a flickering flame of hope in the darkness of his despair. One day, as Chance was scavenging for scraps near a busy intersection, a young woman noticed him. She was different from the others. She didn't recoil in fear. Instead, she stopped and looked at him with concern in her eyes. She knelt down slowly, extending a hand towards him. Chance hesitated, his instincts telling him to be wary. But there was something in her eyes, a glimmer of kindness that he hadn't seen in a long time. He cautiously approached her, his tail wagging tentatively. The woman, whose name was Sarah, spoke to him in a soft voice, her words soothing his ragged nerves. She offered him a piece of the sandwich she was eating. Chance devoured it gratefully, his tail wagging harder now. Sarah continued to talk to him, telling him about her day, about her love for animals. She didn't judge him for his breed. She saw him for what he was, a lonely, abandoned dog in need of help. Sarah couldn't take Chance home with her. Her apartment building had a strict no-pets policy. But she couldn't bear to leave him on the streets. She started bringing him food and water every day. She visited him whenever she could, spending hours talking to him, petting him, and playing with him. She named him Lucky, a name that reflected her hope for his future. Sarah also started a campaign to find Lucky a forever home. She took photos of him, highlighting his gentle nature and playful personality. She posted them on social media, sharing his story with her friends and family. She contacted local animal shelters and rescue organizations, hoping they could help. The response was overwhelming. People were touched by Lucky's story and impressed by Sarah's dedication. Many offered to foster him temporarily until a permanent home could be found. Others expressed interest in adopting him. Sarah carefully screened each potential adopter, determined to find the perfect family for Lucky. After weeks of searching, Sarah finally found the perfect match. A family of 4, the Millers were looking for a dog to join their family. They had lost their beloved dog a few months earlier and were heartbroken. They missed the companionship, the unconditional love, the joy that a dog brought into their lives. They were drawn to Lucky's gentle nature and his soulful eyes. They didn't care that he was a pit bull. They saw him as a dog, a loving creature in need of a home. The day Lucky went to his new home was bittersweet. Sarah was overjoyed that he had found a loving family, but she was also sad to see him go. She had grown attached to him and he had become a part of her life. But she knew that the Millers would give him the love and care he deserved. The Millers welcomed Lucky with open arms. They showered him with affection, gave him a warm bed, and filled his days with play and adventure. They took him for walks in the park, played fetch in the backyard, and cuddled with him on the couch. Lucky thrived in his new environment. He blossomed under their love and care. His coat became shiny, his eyes sparkled, and his tail wagged constantly. He was no longer a stray, a forgotten creature. He was a member of a family, a cherished companion, a loved and valued dog. Something amazing happened to Lucky. He was given a second chance at life. He was given a home, a family, and a name that reflected his good fortune. He was given the opportunity to show the world that pit bulls are not inherently dangerous. He was given the chance to prove that love and kindness can transform even the most broken spirit. He became an ambassador for his breed, a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of second chances. He reminded everyone that every creature, regardless of its breed or appearance, deserves love, compassion, and a forever home. And in return, Lucky gave his new family something amazing: unconditional love, unwavering loyalty, and the joy of knowing they had saved a life. He filled their home with laughter, warmed their hearts with his gentle spirit, and reminded them every day of the incredible bond between humans and animals. He was, in every sense of the word, lucky.